Is it good? Yeah. Welcome to another episode of Think Bigger. Today on the show, I have an exciting guest, Marc Damon. Marc doesn't know he's going to be on the show, but he'll soon find out. He's my business partner at Dealer Inspire, and he runs the paid search team at launch and has a ton of automotive dealership experience. So I'm interested personally in learning more about Marc. So stay with me while we interview him. I've been wearing this coat the whole time. So, we are about to film Think Bigger.
Action!
Let's go. My guest today, Marc Damon. So pumped to have you, man.
Any warnings or anything anymore?
No, why would you get a warning? Makes no sense. It's not how we roll. Are we ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
So Marc, I'm gonna get right into it. What is your biggest fear? So what are you fearful about?
Fearful.
When you turn out the lights at night, what do you think about? Spiders?
I don't like spiders. That's for sure.
It's great to have you on the show, Marc.
Thank you.
We've known each other for how long?
6, 7 years?
That's a long time.
It is.
It's been a lot of fun so far.
Yes, so far.
So take us back.
Okay.
How did you get your start in the dealership world and digital marketing?
So I started selling cars when I was 18. Worked at a couple different dealerships, and I was always drawn towards the internet side of things. I was working at one dealership. We had an internet manager, and he just wasn't doing that much. It was a while ago. We didn't even have a website at the time, so I started building a website, and I was just a salesperson, and built it with lead forms and some information. Didn't have inventory or anything like that, but it was a great way for my customers who I sold cars to be able to either go in and submit a credit application or just contact me or whatever. And from there, it grew. I started doing more and more of the internet role, and we got our first website. We still actually had AOL dial-up at the time, which quickly got rid of because that was pretty horrible. And I just really found my niche. I really liked the internet part of it. I've always been kind of doing some code in HTML, and that's kind of where it began. Just got more and more into it.
So you're doing paid search at the car dealership and building websites. I know it was like with eBiz Autos at the time, which isn't around today.
Yeah, we went through a couple different website companies and a lot of the main ones, and tried different ones. eBiz Autos was one that we took on and learned a lot from them. And we had a couple different companies doing our paid search for us, and just wasn't happy and decided to go out and learn it on my own and figure it out.
What was your biggest frustration dealing with the providers at the time?
For paid search, it was just everything was very templated. Everyone had an automated API program that everyone got the same thing. Our competitor 7 miles away, same manufacturer, had the exact same ads as us. I'm sure they had the exact same keywords they were targeting, and nothing was different. We went to a new provider because we were having some issues, and we filled out a quick survey. It was, what competitors are in the area, what areas do we want to target, and they literally had our account built in 10 minutes after sending them that survey. And that just it really hit me that there's more to it. You can't just have an automated program that does everything, because everyone's going to have the exact same thing. There's no one actually looking at things and determining if it's good, it's bad. It's just automated, if-then rules.
So you're working at the dealership. You're teaching yourself paid search. So how long were you at the dealership again? No.
Overall, automotive, several different dealerships, 18 years.
And then I know I met you when I was a Ford rep, actually, and I was coming into your store and at Fox Valley, I believe, right?
Yep.
Talk about how you went from the car dealership world to being on your own. And then we met, I think, very soon after that.
Yeah, it wasn't long after. So in 2008, when the housing crisis hit, just dealerships weren't selling cars. The dealership I was at just couldn't make payroll, couldn't afford me, and so I was out, and I was pretty devastated to begin with. That was pretty hard hitting. I thought I had a really good job there. I really liked it, and I thought we were definitely making a difference. And from there, there just wasn't jobs that in the automotive world that is what I needed in my income. So I went on some interviews, and a lot of the dealerships I talked to, just people I've known, in contacts that they didn't want a full-time employee, but they wanted help in certain places, and I knew pretty much everything at it. And the paid search thing, everyone needed help there, and everyone had known what I did, and that they knew my work. So I started picking up accounts, and several accounts just pretty much fell in my lap in looking. And then I was doing the GM thing, and the whole thing worked out was, I have my own thing, and I get to do what I want and make phone calls and do my own business as needed, but also needed to kind of manage the store as I could.
So you were a GM, and the owner was letting you be a GM, so
Yeah.
the general manager of a store, and kind of run your side business.
Run my side business. It was a closing Chevy store back in the day when all the Chevy stores
Is that the
were
one
closing.
on Randall?
Yeah.
Okay.
Avenue. So
Gotcha.
I was doing that, and it was probably late at night. It was probably 7 or 8 o'clock at night. I was just calling different dealers and people I know, and I'd met Jack Daniels at Riverview a few times, and I was calling for him. And I don't know if you called me back or if I called and left a message, or I think you might have called me back. And it was like I just remember you're like, I know you. And I'm like, okay, who are you? You're like, Joe. And we started talking a little bit, and I think just kind of grew from there. And I was handling all of the paid search coming in, that you guys had, and it grew a lot faster than I thought. Like, it wasn't shortly after that I didn't have time to get my own clients, and just was building up, and working on your clients.
That was a lot of fun. And then because we didn't have enough on our plate, right? So we, I think we both had a similar dream or vision to build our own website platform.
Yeah, and that's something I wanted to do back when I was working at the dealerships, and I had actually gone through and learned database structure, and I remember taking classes at the local community college, and I was doing some online classes everywhere just to learn how to do it, because I really didn't know database that much. And I built a database, and we got our inventory imported, and I was kind of playing with that several years ago. And I know a couple times you and I, in passing, we said, oh, we should build a website sometime. And then one night, we're downtown Naperville somewhere, and I don't think it was a Christmas party, but we were talking outside, and we're like, okay, we're going to do it. We're going to build a website platform, and it's just going to be kick-ass.
I think it was outside of Penzi Spices.
It might have
was
been
right
that area.
Right by the street, yeah. Right that
it
corner.
was right by the street.
Yep.
Yep.
That's crazy, man. And now look where it is today. And we built that just like you were building digital programs. You felt like it was out of necessity. Like there was no other way, even though there's a lot of companies offering those solutions, there wasn't really any other way to do it in your mind, right? Like from paid search, no, just going back a little bit.
Yeah, just being at the dealership and having these websites, and you just couldn't do anything. Like I wanted to change colors, and I remember having a dealer.com site way back in the day, and I wrote some code and put some code in there that changed the color of the websites, because they wanted a whole new setup fee, and it was thousands of dollars just to rebuild the site. So I started changing the header colors and font colors, and it's just one of those things. There's got to be a better way. There's got to be website companies out there that are customizable. They're not the bulk template sites where everyone's got the exact same thing. Just wanted something different. So from the very beginning, even working at the dealerships, I was always trying to modify the code in the websites to do something a little bit different. And then they started, I don't know if they got onto me or if anyone else was doing it, but they started blocking JavaScript. Ford did that for the Ford Dealer Connect websites. I know I had some code on there that would actually redirect right to our main website, because we wanted to bypass this whole Ford thing at the time, and they caught into that pretty quick after a couple of weeks. And but
yeah, I remember back in the day you could even do a 301 redirect and they didn't know, and then they caught that, and then really the only alternative you had is to put a huge link on the homepage to say click here for the real website, don't look at this anymore.
And then it wasn't too far after that they made the homepage not editable, so you couldn't even put custom text on it. So they We kept changing things as quick as we tried.
Yeah. Yeah. I know for me, there was a few like defining moments that just kind of pushed us into that website space. What was yours? Like, if you had to think of one, I know it was like customizations, but what was your like defining moment that you're like, we need to build this?
Yeah, I think that part of it stemmed from paid search. We're always trying to build out the campaigns that we need and then have them linked to the right pages. So if the dealership or the client wants something on a tire sale, we have to have information on the website that talks about tires. And just to be able to get that done was a huge headache. It took forever. And a lot of times we just couldn't get it done. So we couldn't even run a campaign that the client wanted. And of course the client's frustrated and they're like, just run it anyways, but that's gonna, hurt our data, and we're gonna get more bounces and so forth. And so it just stemmed from being able to work with those other clients, and just simple stuff like putting remarketing codes on different websites. It could take weeks to 3 weeks to just get it on there, and we're not able to remarket until it's done. So,
which brings me to the next topic that I want to talk about. So you also were the visionary for Fuel, which is our paid search dynamic homegrown super product, I'd call it. I call it that because it's a product that really we use internally at this point. I know we both have vision to make it an external product as well, or to use it as an API for an external product at some point in the future. But tell me about Fuel, why that was created, expand on more of what it actually is and what it does, and how does it benefit dealerships?
Sure. So Fuel basically takes the inventory feeds, parses it out, creates ads, keyword lists, and pushes them right to the paid search platforms. In the past, and before Fuel came along, we do it manually. So we would manually create ads and keywords for each make and model, especially new cars. So it's a new Chevy Cruze. We would create an ad group for it, keywords specifically for that, and so forth. And it's actually really good to do it manually. The problem is it just doesn't scale. There's so much to it, and the inventory changes all the time. If they sell out of all their vehicles over a weekend, how are we to know? We can put in some scripts that kind of tell us that, but there's no great way to manage that. Plus, we don't have the dynamic in there. We can't put in pricing. We can't put in lease payments. We can't put in how many vehicles they have in stock because they change so often. It took me a while, and we figured it out, and I think we got a really great platform. And to that respect, we built the platform completely from scratch. We don't use any other third-party platform that we leverage off of. It's completely from scratch, and we send everything right to the paid search platforms, which is great. So what that does, it gives us the ability to improve it. We're always adding features. We're always doing something to it, and we don't have to wait for these other platforms to upgrade their platform for us to be able to do anything.
So, because you and I can talk about this all day and geek out about the technical differences, but essentially what Fuel is, it takes an inventory feed and will populate a Google AdWords ad for that specific either VIN number or the vehicle results even, right?
Yep.
And I think something that Fuel does that we don't often talk about is have a lot of conditional logic built in to say, if the vehicle is above 60 days old, increase bidding automatically by X percent, right? Talk about some other features that Fuel has.
So not only can we import the one feed, the inventory feed, we can import other feeds too. So if we have like a weather feed, we could bring in like weather and bid differently based on weather, just change the ads on weather. If it's gonna snow out, we can put in the ads, winter's coming or snow's coming this week, how about a 4-wheel drive or a plow truck or something like that. And then as you talked, changing the bids based on different aspects. If the vehicle just hits a lot, maybe let's bid down for it a little bit, but then something that's there 45 days or even more, we can start bidding up, so it increases the chances of getting seen in a higher spot. But then we took it to a completely higher level, and we bid on the keyword level based on intent of that keyword. So every keyword's got an intent, and it's it varies depending on the person who's using it. But someone typing in a keyword like Ford has got a different intent of someone typing in a keyword of 2016 Ford Explorer XLT in midnight blue. that person wants to buy a car, right? So we know that because they're using keywords like trim levels and year and colors. And so what we do is we set up Fuel to bid differently if they're using those key intent buying type keywords. And if they're just bidding, they're just searching for like Ford Explorer, they might be interested, but let's go after those, people that really know what they want to buy and make sure we're that number one listing.
What do you say to the person that is against paid search as far as in looking at their total advertising and digital marketing plan?
Honestly, if you're not there, your competition's going to be there, and it's really easy to see with the data if you're not there, or even depending on the keywords, if you're in a lower position than normal, you can quickly see that you might not be clicked on. And a lot of people say, well, I'm there for organic. And yeah, if they search for your name, you're going to be there organic, but you're going to have those 3 ads above you. And not everybody knows that those 3 ads above that are paid ads. My mom, as many times as I've told her, she still doesn't realize those are paid ads.
Ad in yellow.
Yeah, and that's why I tell her I do for a living, and she still doesn't get it.
Well, the other big thing is, sorry to interrupt you there, is that you can control the paid ad text, and especially with Google Organic. It's dynamic. Like, it doesn't matter what you put in the meta description or meta title anymore. They'll dynamically show whatever they deem as relevant to the consumer. Yeah,
definitely. And paid search, it's instant. You can call us up and we can change an ad if you have a weekend sale or something like that, and it pushes out right away. If you really want to push Ford Tauruses, we make that change and it's live right then. So someone searching for it, you're going to be that number one spot. But then it gets into other things like locations. If you have a dealership in Naperville, but someone's looking for a dealership in St. Charles, you're not going to show up organically no matter what you do. Mm-hmm. So that's where that paid search really comes in. The 2 cities are so close that that person could probably go to either and not have an issue. But without that paid search ad there, you're dead to them. They don't know you're there.
So you obviously identified some problems with the current solutions that are out there to really inspire you to have the vision for Fuel and for other products. But that's you. How do you take that kind of mindset and expand it and give guidance to other people that want to have that same kind of thinking?
So this kind of goes back to, I kind of had a defining moment back a while ago, 15 years ago maybe. I was working in a dealership, I was in sales, I loved it, I made good money, I really liked what I did, but it's all I did. Like, I sold cars, I'd go home, I'd sit on the couch, watch TV, hang, girlfriend or whatever, but it really didn't try to like go anywhere. Like, I didn't have like aspirations to really do anything. And I had one, I don't know, just a thought of like, I can do more, like I need to do something else. And it really hit me, and I'm like, okay, what can I do? And I really liked programming at the time, and there was a need at the dealership to get into something and learn something else. And at the time, come home from work, watch TV, or the TV was always on, and whether I paid attention to it or not, it was just on. And I just made a point. I'm like, no more TV. I'm gonna cut it out, and for at least a year was my goal. No TV for a year. And if I have nothing to do, I'm gonna study. I had books. I had all these programming books. I'm sure you had the same ones. It's just they stacked up like crazy, and took these online courses. Took courses at Wabansie Community College and COD, and just as much as I could learn programming, and then applied it at my job and tried to do something with it. And literally did not watch TV. My wife did, and I just remember sitting at home with a big set of earphones on with white noise at the kitchen table. Yeah, it is. And just studying, and I was at the kitchen table every day, trying to learn something and do other programs. And there was a lot to it. And when Apple announced that they were going to open up the iPhone SDK, I'm like, this is it. This is how I'm going to make all my money. And started making some apps, and I got a couple on the App Store, but it was just changing so quick and growing so quick that I couldn't keep up with it. It's not exactly what I want to do, but I had that moment, and I think of it all the time. Like, there's always something more to do. You always want to grow. You always want to think, and I always, people I work with, and even in interviews, I talk about this, is, no matter what you do, always think bigger. Always like try to get to that next step. You can come in and do your job and do your job well, but what's that going to get you? You do other things. Do what you want, but really try to expand your knowledge and always learn. I'm always reading. I literally probably read about 10 to 15 books a month. Most of them, some of them are fiction, but most of them has to do with something, just learning something. I'm a pilot. I love to fly, and I got to a point where I just wanted to learn more. So now I'm going for my IFR rating, and that's a lot of work, but it's cool, and it's something I really like. And I'll stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning reading that, and just trying to learn more and absorb it.
So there's a common trait that I'm noticing is that you don't consider this stuff you're doing now work. This is what you're doing for fun.
Definitely, yeah. And my wife Christy always gets mad at me. She's like, you need to stop working, And I get home and the first thing I do, I say hi to Z and Christy, and they're probably starting dinner, and I'll go in and check email and make sure we're good there. And as soon as I go to bed, I'm back on the computer, and I know you are the same way. And a lot of that is my time to expand and do something different. I try not to answer emails, it of course happens, but try to get into something next. What do we want to do? And I work on field quite a bit, those hours, and just different programs and learning more.
Yeah, it's funny. My wife used to say to me, like, why are you working? And I'm like, this is not work. This is what I would be doing anyway. Yep. Like, either mocking something up or learning conversion rate optimization. I think that's the big difference with success, is that it doesn't come easy, but you have to have a passion for what you're doing, whatever that is. So that's awesome that you do that. I didn't realize you did. It's like oddly similar, with the headphones on and listening. What are some programs, the online programs that you'd recommend for people watching the show?
Lynda.com's really good to learn different things. I took a lot of online programs for programming, and once you get like the basics, I think it's easier to take those, but in the beginning you really need someone to help you. And there's a couple of my team members that are learning, and they come to me and I help them, and I think that gives them enough help where they can do some of those online courses. There's just some questions, like very simple, maybe what's a variable, explain it. And then once you kind of grasp that, you can, move on. And, I had to take some college courses to really grasp some of the basics back in the day. But once I got that, it was a lot easier to take those online courses and move forward.
Cool. No, that's a completely think bigger mindset. So that I think gives this audience a ton of actionable steps. And probably like you, I think that people who are in the digital marketing field, they need to understand how websites work. They need to build their own website. They need to rank for keywords. It's way more than just studying for a certification test or getting a job in a digital marketing company. I mean, to truly know it, you have to do it.
Definitely.
That's great. So where do you think the auto space is going to be in the next few years?
If you had asked me that 10 years ago, I would have said you could buy a car online and it's going to be dropped off at your house. And I really don't know why that's not happened yet. Like, people they know everything. I know I bought a truck a few years ago. I knew every single thing about that truck before I bought it, and I'm sure you did too. You just research it. I stared at pictures. I knew it all. I think a lot of people are that way. And there's a lot of people that need, some comparisons, and they really don't know. But I feel like just being able to go online, buy a car, and just make it as easy as possible, and just have it be delivered to you instead of going in and still being sold that vehicle. I still think that's going to happen.
Cool. Well, hey, it's great to have you on the show. It's funny that I'm the host the week that you're on it, because you and I are business partners. Have been friends for a long time, but it's my pleasure to continue this journey together. And you've been awesome to work with, and a great partner this whole time. So
great.
Let's cheers to that. Cheers. Water and tea. You guys can tell me to stop talking. Like, I don't know when to stop because I'm not looking at you. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Think Bigger. Marc Damon is an inspiration. He's truly a visionary in our space. Stay tuned for next week. We have a great guest, Christy Hedges. Thank you again, and have a wonderful week.